Thank you, Dan. Thank you for the welcome. I'm delighted to be here, and it's so much fun hosting with the Barths. Dan is such a talented person. For those of you that have followed him over the years, he writes, he produces, he acts, he plays many instruments. Back in high school, he played the clarinet, and one night coming home from school, he hit a deer, and he got out. The deer was writhing in pain, so he was going to get a tire iron or something to put it out of its misery. Couldn't find a tire iron, so he got out his clarinet. Only took 2 songs, and the deer was deader than a doornail. Our topic today is leadership. You make the difference, and you might say, well, what does that have to me? I'm not a supervisor at work, but we're all leaders. If you are a supervisor at work, obviously you're a leader. If you are on a chamber committee or a church committee, you take a leadership role. If you're a parent, you're the ultimate leader. If you have any friends, the leadership in a circle of friends changes all the time, so we're all leaders at times in that circle. In fact, the only people that aren't leaders really are people that don't have any friends and hermits. Other than that, we are all leaders. So let's take a look at a great definition of leadership. This is from John Quincy Adams, who said, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are a leader. And it's interesting, to follow what all of the leadership coaches and trainers are saying, and almost to a T. Every one of them says leadership starts from the inside out. It's about becoming a better you. Warren Bennis says this: becoming a leader is synonymous with becoming yourself. It's precisely that simple, and it's also that difficult. If somebody would ask me to sum up everything I talked about in one sentence, it would be this: that you make the difference. You make a difference in your workplace, you make a difference in the community, you make a difference in your family, you make a difference in the world. Maybe that concept is best summed up with this little poem: the task, to build a better world. But I said, how? The world is such a big place, it's so complicated now. And I am so small and helpless, there is nothing I can do. But God in all his wisdom said, just build a better you. That's exciting when I think about the fact that all I have to do to make this world a better place to live is to build a better me. And all you have to do to make the world a better place to live is to spend a little bit of time every day making you a better you. The world strives for love and joy and peace and productivity, all of those good things, one person at a time. So that really makes you important in the scheme of things. I grew up in Morton, Minnesota. Anybody here that has not yet been to Morton, Minnesota? Nice to have something to look forward to if you've never been there. Great little town, 700 people when I was growing up there. We didn't have any of the amenities of a bigger city. We didn't have a bowling alley, didn't have a movie theater, didn't have a full-time fire department, just a group of volunteers. And I'm not trying to put them down. I mean, they were good. We had a nightclub burning down outside of town one night. Our department went out to fight it. And normally we're to burn down by 10 o'clock at night. Our guys kept it going till 4:30 in the morning. But what I found out growing up in that little town is the fact that life is all people. See, we didn't have stuff to do. So our life was all about how we got along, how we helped each other, how we supported each other. And now we live in St. Cloud, about 100,000 people in the area. And you know something? Life in St. Cloud is exactly the same. It's how we get along. It's how we help each other. It's how we support each other. And I've had an opportunity to speak in some of the larger cities throughout the country. And I remember when I first went into the big cities I wonder what those big city folks are going to think of the message. Well, life in a big city is just the same. It's all about people. It's how we help each other. It's how we get along. It's how we support each other. So I'd like to touch on a couple of attitudes or a couple of characteristics of really good leaders. One is the fact that good leaders are people builders. They build the confidence, they build the self-esteem, they create a climate in the workplace that makes it a fun place to be. To the extent you help others get what they want in their life, do you receive what you want? Axiom of business success. You achieve your success only by helping other people achieve their success. We lose sight of that sometimes. And, people want 2 things. They want good quality. They want good service. But beyond that, they want to know that you care about them as a human being. So one of the keys that we can certainly use on the job, but carry it into every single walk of life, is to recognize the dignity of every human being you come in contact with. We do that when we see a baby. We hold that little human being in our hands and we absolutely marvel. We say there's this absolute miracle with eyes that see and a heart that beats and hopes and fears and joys and dreams. And we do everything we can to make that little human being feel loved and warm and important. And sometimes we forget, as that little human being grows into adulthood, it's still that miracle. That 8th grader in your neighborhood with spiked hair, that's green, still a miracle. Or that one you're behind at the grocery store and he or she is elderly and kind of confused and taking a long time counting their change. And we're standing in the back of the line impatiently thinking, come on, hurry up. I got places to go and people to see. Stop. Stop and recognize that within that outer form is still the same living, breathing miracle. Still waiting for you to come along to make them feel loved and warm and important. See, you do that, customer service is going to take care of itself. Your leadership skills are going to take care of itself. The world is going to become a better place to live. So do those little things, the little smiles, the little pats on the back. Give a compliment every once in a while. Let me illustrate that. Colonel Frank attended one of Pastor Craig's services one day. And after the service, Frank went by and said, Pastor, that was really a good sermon. And Pastor said, well, it was just God working through me. And Frank said it wasn't quite that good. Now, keep in mind another thing, and that is the fact that, life is full of its ups and downs, so we need to develop solution-conscious attitudes. I can guarantee you that you're going to face some problems today. Nick mentioned that in his opening comments, what it's been like taking over the restaurant and getting the thing off the ground. So we will face problems every single day of our life. So our goal is not to eliminate the problems, but rather to develop solution-conscious attitudes and realize that it's not the problems that give us the headaches. It's our attitude towards the problems that give us our headaches. As a speaker, a friend of mine by the name of Mike Patrick says, the problem is not the issue. The issue is how you deal with the problem. Keep that in mind today. And also remember this. There's 3 things you can count on. Water is wet, rocks are hard, and you will face challenges today. So buck up and do it. So I'd like to give you a couple of takeaways here, because so much of this is controlling our thought pattern, controlling our attitude towards all of these things. I got this from one of my ball players in an email. And I have been working for a long time on developing more patience in my life. I grew up the old authoritarian coach. I could pound my fist on the table and say, listen here, young man. I'm in charge here when I want your opinion. I'll tell you what it is, and then I'll get it from you. So, I didn't have to have a whole lot of patience, or so I thought. But I began to look at that and say, there's probably a better way. So I started to work on this, and one of my ball players sent me this. You can tell a lot about a person by the way he or she handles 3 things. A rainy day, lost luggage, and tangled Christmas tree lights. So I want to remind you that life is nothing more than a series of tangled Christmas tree lights. And let me tell you what happened. Came at a perfect time. Right after Christmas, we had to take the tree down and put the lights away. And before that, I would, spend about 15 minutes, and I'd be all upset, and I'd be impatient, and I'd try to get them untangled, and eventually I'd get them untangled. This year I decided, hey, they're tangled. Deal with it. Be calm. So I just took my time. I was calm. I pulled the lights apart. Still took me 15 minutes. The only thing that changed was my attitude towards what I was doing. And, it's a whole different attitude. It's a whole different bit of peace and serenity. So keep that in mind the next time you're stopped at a stoplight. Nothing you can do about it. relax. In fact, I got to share something I picked up from Cowboy Dave. He said during that time I'll put on some soft music, or I'll give myself some positive affirmations, or I'll look around at people at me and smile. Hey, you got two choices. You can be uptight, or you can relax and say, it is what it is. And when we all learn to just deal with it as it is what it is, life becomes so much more peaceful and serene. Here's another takeaway I'd like to share with you. Because we all in our jobs, in our lives, as parents, as friends, as members of the community, we all deal with upset people. And one of my seminar participants once said, there really aren't difficult people. There are people going through difficult times in their lives. So you start with that kind of an attitude. And I picked up this idea. I was doing a leadership seminar with a company in town. We were talking about how do you deal with that upset employee. And he said, I kill him with kindness. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, first, I get in step. He said, I just listen and I say something like this, I'm really glad you came in to see me. Let's see what we can do about the problem. What a whole different approach to if you don't like it here, there's other places to work. But he said, I just get in step, just empathize with him. He said, then I listen. And that's a hard thing to do because we're all vaccinated with phonograph needles. We want to tell them our side of the story. We want to get defensive. We want to do all of those things. He said, I just listen to what they have to say. And then we work to solve the problem. And you have to understand, you can't always tell them what they want to hear. You might not resolve the problem to their liking, but the fact that you were calm and open and created that positive, open communications is going to give you a whole new set of results. So the next time you're dealing with that customer who's a little out of whack, or if you're a supervisor, one of your employees that you have to deal with, parents dealing with their kids, keep that in mind. Hey, thank you for bringing it up. Let's talk about it. Oh, just a whole different ballgame when you begin to do things like that. So there's a couple of takeaways for you. But I'd like to end with this note. I'd like to encourage you today to just light one single candle. A little pat on the back, a little smile, a little, taking time to listen to that coworker of yours who needs just a little time to listen. And to remember that it is better to light a single candle than to curse the darkness. Father Carroll founded the Christopher Organization in America, and he used that as their saying. And to illustrate, he was preaching at Notre Dame Stadium one Saturday night. He turned out the lights, and the stadium was dark. And then he lit one single candle. And the light from that candle pierced the darkness. Then he went around and he started to light the candles of the people around him, and they started to light the candles of the people around them. And pretty soon that once darkened stadium was aglow with light simply because he lit one single candle. A little pat on the back, a little hello, a little smile. All those little tiny things that you and I can do, one person, one day at a time, make this world a better place to live. And I can illustrate that with a personal example. When I was in school at St. Cloud State, I was traveling down to my hometown of Morton to celebrate my dad's birthday, and 10 miles out of town, my car conked out. And I know a lot about cars. There's blue ones, green ones. Got the hood open, had no idea what to do, so I walked to a farmhouse about a quarter of a mile away. Guy came out, tinkered under the hood, said, try it now. And I did, and the car started. He walked back past my window. I was kind of sheepish. I said, gee, I don't have any cash, but I'd be glad to write you a check. He said, oh, don't worry about that. We all have to help each other out along the way. And those words really hit me. We all have to help each other out along the way. And because of that time, I can't count the number of times I've stopped along the highway to help a stranded motorist simply because he lit one single candle. And who knows, maybe somebody that I stopped to help somebody else, and they stopped to help somebody else. Maybe right now, somewhere in this world, one human being is getting help from another human being simply because at one point in time, 45 some years ago, he lit one single candle. So I leave you today with this challenge for today and tomorrow and every single day of your life. Is there anybody happier because you passed their way? Is there someone who remembers that you spoke to them today? Is your day a day of progress? Is it well or sorely spent? Do you leave a trail of kindness or scars of discontent? Do you really make the most of this today that slips by fast? Do you help one single person of the many that you pass? Is there just one heart rejoicing over what you did or said? Does the one whose hopes were fading now with courage look ahead? And when the day is almost over and its toiling time is through, is there just one person then to say a kindly word of you? And as you close your eyes in slumber, do you think that God will say, you deserve one more tomorrow for the good you did today? You really do make a difference. And thank you so much. Thank you.